So good evening, uh, seniors, friends, and the young generation in front of us. So you have seen a very technically correct and detailed review of the threat landscapes and everything. I think I have nothing more to add. But still, I'll take this opportunity to take a few points. First of all, I should congratulate and thank the entire Cocoon team for successfully completing 16 years. And this is my first time at Cocoon, even though I have heard of it and I'm from Kerala, but never got an opportunity to be here. So, cybercrime, as we know, is one of the most prolific forms of transnational crime. So I'm here to talk about the international cooperation, not just the police cooperation, but it's one of the most prolific forms of transnational crime. More so because of the ease with which it can be done. And a fiber optic cable running in the sea doesn't know jurisdictions. Highly complex crimes such as malware, you just saw it in the warfare things, DDoS, ransomware attacks, bring new challenges to law enforcement and the security community in general. Considering the large volumes of data, more importantly, the cross-border investigations, and for people who are learning, newer things to learn. So the technology is emerging very fast. So cybercrime has been a growing concern. Cyber criminals are constantly evolving their techniques, and they follow the exponential Moore's law more better than Mr. Moore. Cybercrime today is a far cry from what it used to be about 10 years back. Because there are now very sophisticated attack vectors like the malware, DDoS, ransomware attacks, and other malicious activities threatening the critical infrastructure. And I'm not talking about warfare, just the previous speaker very vividly explained. I'm not even getting into that. So these cause a serious harm and have a serious impact on the organizations and our critical infrastructure. Because in the previous conversation, you just saw what a cyber attack can do to a critical infrastructure. As we speak, million searches are being done on the internet. It is ubiquitous. We use internet to control our critical infrastructure systems, to conduct financial transactions securely, to book air tickets, railway tickets, hotel tickets, whatever, to do it quickly online, to shop conveniently sitting at our homes, to stay connected with friends, and who can forget Netflix for entertainment as well. It even allows us to explore virtual worlds, welcome the metaverse, and it help us do more than what is possible in the physical realm. With all these advantages, it is no surprise that it has permeated into our daily lives. India is a matter of pride that we have one of the highest connectivity growth rates in the world. After the Geo moment of 2016, now everybody has a smartphone in their hands. As with any emerging technology, the development of internet also leads, it's a, multi-purpose use, so it also leads into crime because our country and world in general has no dearth of talent. People find newer ways to do a crime. Me and you and all sitting in the room are not criminals for different reasons. Internet provides that anonymity. It, of course, provides all of us an alternate career choice, provided we are ready to bear with the consequences that may come along with it. It's easy. I mean, disclaimer, I'm not prompting you to commit any kind of crime. I'm just trying to put across a point that anybody can do it as on date. Now, both the cyber-dependent and cyber-enabled crimes, there are two kinds of cyber crimes when you speak about it, now affect all areas of activity. It's quite ubiquitous, just like the internet. For example, terrorist groups use the services of cyber criminals to raise funds using cryptocurrencies. So now there is something which is available as a crime as a service. Earlier, gangsters used to provide their services as for a certain sum. Now we have all these available online in the darknet. Criminal human trafficking networks are exploring the dark web in order to gain expertise in designing fake travel documents. You want to create, you've seen all those old MI5 movies in which the fake passports are made in seconds. Now darknet provides you the DIYs to do this. The new developments in organized crime make it possible to make the fight against cybercrime very, very tough for all of us. So more or less discuss the agenda, so I won't go into that. And we discuss about a success story just to motivate us in cooperating further. And definitely I will explain the need for cooperation. It's quite clear as a white line in a dark cloud, but still, since a forum is so, I will take that liberty to explain that. So now in a globalized world, the world is all one single village now, economies are getting more and more interconnected, because now, earlier it was not very easily possible to transfer money from one country to another. Now it's just click of a button. So when I watch YouTube videos, I get advertisements of a thing called Revolut and Remitly. I don't know how many of you have heard this. So it just makes life easier. So technology is developing at an unprecedented rate. The threat of cybercrime is very, very serious for companies, small and big alike, as well as for the governments. The governments are not secure from cyber attacks. Because now the cyber attacks are not conducted by lone wolves or the script kiddies, as we say. It is run at an industrial scale by nation states as well. And we know the names of a few. As this trend continues, the security risks for organizations are greatly increased at an immeasurable cost to the world economy. To that extent, that the World Economic Forum Center for Cybersecurity has mentioned that nearly half of the businesses are being hit by economic crime, with cybercrime being the gravest. This was a report of World Economic Forum in 2019. So it just explains how critical it is. It is now a multi-billion-dollar industry. And it's tempting for crime syndicates to shift their activities into the cyberspace, or even commit cybercrime with the use of sophisticated tools. It's not just hacking passwords, which most of us as college students used to do. At least the kids of our generation used to do that. Hacking passwords or even guessing somebody's passwords was the biggest kick that one would get. Now that is not even being done. It's done for a different purpose. Cyber criminals are now known to engage in activities including exploiting weak passwords, of course, masking their identity, that brings in a lot of anonymity, stealing confidential information. We discuss about the business email compromise soon. Identity theft, ransomware attacks. So this, all of you might have definitely heard. I'm talking about the Cosmos Bank heist. In 2 hours, $14 million, boom, gone. By using cloned cards and bypassing the CBS. I'm not getting into the details because Pune court just convicted a few money mules. The investigation is still on. Just to put things in perspective. The other is a colonial pipeline hack, which was allegedly done by a group called the Dark Side based out of Russia. The billing system was compromised. They couldn't do anything to the actual gas pipeline. Only the billing system was compromised. So whoever fills the gas cannot be billed. So that caused a lot of ruckus in most of the gas stations in the US. It resulted in panic buying, flights getting cancelled. Around 75 BTC was asked as ransom, but the FBI could get back around 64 of it. So this is actually a wake-up call for all of us. So again, no details, just for perspective. Now the world is not run by weapons anymore. It's run by just ones and zeros. It all boils down to ones and zeros. And the chase is always on. The good is always 2 steps behind the bad. Because the bad has a motivation to do things, and can you remember that movie, that Vikram Veda, where he draws a line and asks, which side are you? So we think we are on this side. We are actually on that side, I would say, by not doing anything. What to do is the question. So we all has to form some kind of chain to do this. So the threat landscape. This is a graph. I know it's a very boring graph, but just to look at the two, the red line and the blue line. The red line shows the required knowledge. Earlier in the 90s, a lot of knowledge was required to actually do a cybercrime. Even to steal a password, it required a lot of knowledge. Now you don't need this. The tool sophistication is so high that anybody can do this. So now we have this integrated cyber attack frameworks available for hire from this darknet. It's very easy. Just use a Tor browser and try doing that. You will get a lot of DIYs. I've taken this 10-year evolution. The slide is much longer to the left. But I've taken just this point because earlier in 2000 to 2010, in that decade, cyber theft, credit card information was being stolen. Now during the pandemic, we saw all kinds of social engineering attacks and phishing attacks. Social engineering has become so easy because even though most of us claim to be so-called activists or ace investigators or experts in cybercrime, I bet you and I can be scammed very easily by a very unsuspecting person. It's that easy. I know people who were very important people in the private sector as well as in the government, tweeting or giving lectures on cybersecurity, but having scammed. It's very easy. Just one click. And now the meat of the discussion. The threats, as it's not me, but I've taken this from various sources, from the Gartner research, from the Interpol cyber threat assessments, and from the World Economic Forum assessments. The most important one is the business email compromise. So now the threat landscape is being changing very fast, and cybercrimes are changing every day. So it's imperative for organizations across the globe, including governments, to stay vigilant against these threats, as updating the security protocols and practices accordingly. As we move into 2024 and beyond, it will be very critical for the companies and governments to implement the so-called comprehensive cybersecurity solutions. The volume of cybercrime has never come down. It has always showed an upward trend. And with the crime as a service, which we will see now, puts every tool and services on a buffet, on a platter for anybody to buy for a certain amount. So BEC campaigns are one of the top the chart. I mean, it's one of such cybercrimes which brings in the maximum money for the criminals. And the attack vector is quite huge because a lot of companies, a lot of governments can still be attacked. In the US alone, the Internet Crime Complaint Center, they have something called the IC3. They reported receiving close to around 20,000 BEC complaints in 2021, with the estimated losses of around 2.4 billion USD. This is just 1 year. So FBI has found that they lost around 43 billion globally during the COVID-19 pandemic to BEC, which is quite a staggering number. In most instances, it is done by remote access tools, which we all know. It's very visible. The shift towards remote access tools is very visible in the threat perception reports that these companies bring up from time to time. A remote access RAT paired with some information stealer, just like a keylogger, for instance, allows a cyber criminal to easily acquire the login information of any bank. So you connect to a public Wi-Fi and you're gone. So companies are affected in big way using the BECs, because you think the message is coming from your CEO, whereas it is not. There was a case in which an email apparently originated from ONGC to pay money of a certain deal to a certain account. This was long back, maybe 3-4 years back. They just changed one string. So most of the phishing sites these days use these Slavic alphabets. With that Cedillac, you say, under the C there is a small, in French and in Turkish, under the C there is a small line. So that is not visible unless you look very closely. The cyber criminals, same for the BEC fraud, are becoming more sophisticated and highly technical in leveraging this technology. The second one was phishing. We all know what phishing is. Spam emails, clickbaits, and links. It is in phishing that I want to share a success story, but to the end for sure. And there is a CloudForge. I'll go back to that slide. What does this look like? Does this look genuine? This is from Microsoft. I mean, for a naked eye, it looks absolutely genuine. And there is no click. I mean, you just click on the image. You don't need to click on that, keep the same password. You just click on the image, and this is done. The entire image is a clickbait. So this is like, this is mentioned in the Cloudflare phishing threats report of 2022. I mean, Microsoft is one of the most impersonated global brands. So this was from their report. So there is a technical report along with this as well, but I'm not getting into that. The attacker used the Microsoft Office 365 branding, attempted to circumvent any brand detection techniques. Because now the emails have also grown smarter. They have all these brand detection techniques and say whether it comes from the same company, same domain or not. So these guys somehow could manage that, because there is no plain text HTML. It's all an image. There is no plain text HTML. From plain text HTML, it's easy to get it. From an image, it is not so easy. They included only a JPEG image, impossible to detect words without an OCR. So embedding a hyperlink in that image, that means clicking anywhere in the body would result in clicking the link. So they hosted a malware in giving the garb of a legitimate site, bypassing all the security protocols. So this is possible. The third is the ransomware. We have heard about the WannaCry, NotPetya, all these ransomware attacks. Why ransomware? Because success rate is quite high. Everybody pays up first step. Because the losses to that company per hour is much more. Consider the colonial pipeline. The more they try to solve it, they may solve it at the end, but it takes time. They do it from backups. I was talking to somebody, there was a company which claims doing it in seconds from the backups. Yes, people are working towards it. The average ransomware payouts have grown from about USD 10,000 in 2018 to about $500,000 in 2021. In 3 years, more than 10 times growth. So now, large enterprises make somewhere around USD 1 million, one company. saw the colonial pipeline, 75 BTC. It's happening in cryptocurrencies. Nowadays, NFTs, or even some virtual land in the metaverse. You never know. Unless you get to know that that's a particular wallet number, you never know. Nowadays people are using mixers, Bitcoin mixers. It's very technical conversation which all of you, I'm very sure, knows about it, but it's all about using it. Knowing is one thing, using it to do crime is one thing, and knowing that it can be used is the most important. So now we don't have to at least fight against, this is no more remains a black swan for us. This is why this conversation around the need for cybersecurity, I know it's very oft repeated. Sometimes it is to the extent that it is boring, but the more you talk, the more it is not a black swan. Everybody comes with a different perspective. Even the people who are listening to such conversations can think about something new to prevent all this. The e-commerce data interception, using the classic case, the third-party interception of your credit card data, the breaches, CAS, crime as a service. This is very interesting. Search in darknet, or even in Google. Google won't provide you the details, but you can read a lot of articles even on Google. People come up with, it's just coding. You can now learn coding very fast. Thanks to White Hat Junior, even the kids know how to code now. So, and add ChatGPT to it. It helps me code very fast. Getting a web scraper done is just 5 minutes. Give the right prompts to ChatGPT, it works wonderfully well. So I wanted to get a list of something from a particular website. I didn't want to check one by one, and I didn't want to write the code, so ChatGPT helped me. 5 minutes. So add ChatGPT to the equation. So anybody can now put up an offer for a crime as a service. So you do some work. Now data translation, data transcription, as they say, was one work which was advertised, especially for housewives who can sit at home and make some money. But now this is more lucrative. And it just needs a single mistake by any user for you to become rich. Single mistake, one click and you're gone. Life savings are gone. So now, and again, in the ransomware, usually it is done by these CAS guys as well, name and shame. Infected companies are shamed by them by posting news about the ransomware attack on a certain company in Twitter or another social media. So the threat actors are trying to develop the cross-platform tendencies and to become as adaptive as possible. The ransomware ecosystem is evolving and becoming more and more industrialized. It's an industry now. Because now all these companies like the Dark Trace and Lazarus cannot be termed as a small gang. It's an industry now. Ransomware gang takes sides in the geopolitical conflicts. You see the Russia-Ukraine war my colleague just showed you. They take sides in the geopolitical conflict. In such a conflict is actually a very fertile ground for such gangs to thrive. They just need to take a side and get paid handsomely. Now the third is the scams, which all of us know. I'm just taking a few names. You've heard about the shopping scam. You buy something is advertised on the internet, you buy it, you get something else. So that is one scam. Advance payment scams, you pay and you don't get it. The romance scams, it's a very good way of social engineering. It's also called pig butchering scams in China these days. It's very, very common in China. Somebody comes to you as somebody from the opposite gender and then makes friendship with you and then offers you some investment idea. You invest in X MLM or Y cryptocurrency, and once you invest, the account just vanishes. So earlier, this same thing is now being used for extortion, because of late I read in newspaper that UP police had arrested a few people who were doing sextortion. Even Haryana police worked on it. Tech support scams. Of late, people were being duped in the name of IRS, that the Internal Revenue Service of the US, people in the US were being conned. In advance payment scams, the fraudsters ask for financial deposits and then they just don't do anything. So crypto scams, again, we know what it is because it's an extension of these romance scams and any other scam. Payment is done in cryptocurrencies. Crypto jacking is theft of resources. As we speak here, all of our computers, the resources are being used by somebody else to mine cryptocurrency. So it's just actually a physical theft, but cyber enabled. Impact on the financial sector. This is what I will take half a minute on this. Financial services are the most targeted ones. It affects the economy of a country, the backbone of a country, all of us, because we make our payments online. The direct benefit transfers happen online. Everything is linked. So if the financial system breaks down, the economy just ends. It's the most critical of our infrastructure because the banks are connected through the CBS or the SWIFT. There are tech interconnectedness. The loss of one key service, the weakness in one technology, can cause outage in the financial market infrastructure. Why? Because all the banks are connected. You've seen the Bangladesh Bank East, the Cosmos Bank one. Bangladesh Bank East, $81 million were attempted to be looted from Bangladesh Bank in New York. The resiliency is in question. Attacks will happen. Everything will be connected in due course, and anything that can be connected can be and will be hacked. How resilient we are is the question. So now, criminals do collaborate and cooperate, work together. They don't do conferences, but they collaborate and cooperate. But are we doing it? It's not just the governments or the police forces that need to cooperate. Cyber criminals have no limits in sharing resources and know-how, which is in part allows them to thrive. But in the same token, binding ourselves closer together through the exchange of information, meeting points like this, using common platforms, sharing the best practices, at least can get us somewhere. The ability to access information is a very big weapon. It's the biggest rocket launcher that we have. Because the criminals, they move from one place to another, they share all kinds of information, they are 10 steps ahead of us. But the moment we have information, we have the power of, at least the governments have the power of the government. So they can, and the private sector plays a very key part. I will explain the next slide. I promised you to share a success story. This is the last that I have to say because such success stories are important. It's nothing, I don't think it's very, very great, but it included multiple jurisdictions. Notorious phishing service platform called c0c0n was shut down with a joint operation of, you can read it in the link, of US, Indonesia and Japan. And this included private partners as well, because the threat reports were given by them. The reports given by and the studies conducted by different private partners were taken into account. And the first arrest was done in Indonesia. They arrested a facilitator and an operator of one of these accounts. And the other one, the main guy, was arrested in Japan. Multiple jurisdictions were involved. This was an Interpol operation. About 150,000 phishing domains were created using the phishing kits. Because it was actually thrown out to the public to create phishing kits. They advertised a phishing kit online. Anybody can create a phishing attack. So 150,000 domains were created. So this is a little sweet victory of global cooperation. I wrote police cooperation because I'm a police officer. It was actually a cooperation of the private sector as well and the governments of these countries. So such success stories can happen and will happen. This is just because data was shared using the Interpol platforms very fast. The Interpol has a platform called the I-24/7 in which all the national central bureaus of all the member nations can exchange information, which is a very powerful tool. But to start with, at least among the states in the country, among the districts in the state, sharing information is very important because one police station, the limit ends. But for a criminal, his life starts at the border. His escape route starts at the border. Earlier it was, in Malayalam movies, I used to say once he crosses Tamil Nadu border, he was never caught. So his life starts at the border. Our challenge starts at the border. So cooperation, shaking hands become all the more important. Thank you for giving me attention this afternoon, where most of the topics were discussed by experts from all the fields. My job was just to put things into perspective. Hope I did at least 10% justice to what I was supposed to do. Any questions? I'm more than happy to answer. I can be reached on this email. Thank you.